What's up, YouTube? Today I have an amazing guest on the Talking Cards podcast, a guest that appears a lot of times on this channel, but is always a pleasure. I have James with me. James, first of all, how are you doing?
I'm good. I'm doing good today. I've taken a bit of a break from my traditional content on my channel, but some more life things getting in the way. But eventually, over the next few weeks, I'll probably make a comeback at some point, and I'm obviously still active in the market, even if I'm not posting. So appreciate being on today.
No, for sure. And again, it's a pleasure to have you in the podcast. Our episodes end up being quite amazing. It's actually the first episode ever recorded. And again, thank you so much for accepting the invite. There is a lot of topics to talk about. But I know you have been not super active on your YouTube, so I hope this is kind of like inspiration for you to make content again. And people, if they want to talk with you, I see you active on the Discord quite a lot. So
Mhm.
that's also a good way to interact with me, to interact with you. And link below the video if anyone wants to check that. So James, I have 5 questions. It's not 5 questions really; it's more like 5 topics. So let's start with the first one. And the first one, I think, is something that is interesting to talk about. Recently, we saw Jeff Wilson talking about soccer quite a lot, specific even more about Messi. I feel like. What you make of this? What are your thoughts for people that actually did not saw? I made a video about that, and recently Jeff Wilson, in this case in the Sports Card Investor podcast, he did another segment about the next Mickey Mantle, and he ended up saying that 7 on Bs could be that, even though it's highly debatable. But what are your thoughts on this?
Yeah, I mean, I think it's super interesting. It's kind of out of nowhere, to be honest, in terms of Jeff Wilson's content. At least a few years ago, he didn't really know much about soccer or what was going on, and now all of a sudden, over the past week, he's really been talking about soccer and specifically Messi and 71 Biz on top of that. So having the biggest channel in the space talk about 71 Biz and Messi and soccer is really really cool. So I think from that perspective, it's great. I know there's a lot of people that love Jeff Wilson. There's a lot of people that hate Jeff Wilson, but can't really deny that he's the biggest voice that we have right now in the hobby. So him just talking about soccer is really good for us in our market. Like Jeff Wilson's content has gone through an evolution, really. So like when he started his channel in 2019, he was talking about ultra modern, super speculative plays. Like he was talking about spending small amounts of money on backup quarterbacks or NBA players that really weren't that good at the time and trying to make value plays. Then in sort of 2020 and the whole hype cycle happened and his content shifted to that hype focus, talking about prison base cards and whatever was going up was what he was talking about. But that's obviously completely fallen apart in terms of the values. And so now his content is actually super interesting because now in 2023, the market has corrected. He has, of course, still on his main channel, he does like the top 5 cards going up and that sort of stuff. But on his podcast, he also talks more about long-term investing and sort of what his thoughts are on the long view of the market. And that's recently where he's really been talking about soccer as the thing that we all sort of talk about as over time, as soccer is the biggest sport in the world and it keeps growing in the United States, the pops are so low on it that it kind of just makes sense that soccer has a good runway in the future. And so that's something he's been talking about in his recent videos and something we've all been talking about for years on our separate channels. And so it's super cool to see that. I think it's great. In terms of if it actually has any effect on our market, in the short term, it hasn't done anything yet. I've looked at the last few 71 Biz sales and PSA 7 and those kind of grades, and they're in line with where they've always been over the last few months. I think they're within like a few $100s of what they normally sell for. So no real impact there. But I imagine if obviously if he continues to put so much emphasis on it and he goes out and he buys the 71 Biz PSA 10 that's on Golden, which he's hinted at a bunch of different times on his channel over the past week that he wants to buy that one. So if he does do that, and he'll probably make a video about it, that sort of thing, all of that is good for our market.
No, I totally agree with that. Again, I can't say I also watch his content that much to have the best opinion out there. So I was not affected by his picks. So especially because he talks about American sports. But I also think it's normal to be wrong as long you justify your thoughts.
Mhm.
Probably that's where people criticize him a lot. If I had to make an assumption. But I kind of like some clips that I see of him. Is new, not a new channel, but he has a channel where he does a podcast. That at least I find that content enjoyable to watch. And for me, he should keep speaking, should keep talking about soccer because I don't see anything wrong with that. And to be fair, I mean, I don't think he's having the worst takes ever on soccer. He's talking about Messi. He also said you should buy the best players, Maradona, Ronaldo, Pelé, etc., and Messi. So I'm kind of in line with him, to be honest, on that. But what do you think about the comparison between the Mickey Mantle and the Seven on Bees? Because I thought that was a bit. Again, I'm saying positive things about him and I like his content, but I think that's pushing a bit too much because there is so much history with the Mickey Mantle that unless soccer goes completely, bananas, it's difficult to see the massive round is having the lore, the impact in the market like the 52 mantle.
Yeah, I just don't think it's possible for there to be a 52 mantle, at least not something from the modern era or the pre-modern era or anything like that, because the numbers just don't work out, right? The cards have been ever since like the 52 mantle, and the further you go to the modern era, the more so this is the case. They've been protected. You pull them out, you put them in sleeves, you put them in binders. They're in good condition. Print runs are either really high because people want cards, or they're low because of manufactured scarcity. And if it's manufactured scarcity, it's nothing like the 52 mantle. So yeah, it's I don't think it's possible for there to be another 52 mantle. But if you're gonna pick something, I think that's obviously I'm gonna say this, but I think that's the best pick you can get because yeah, there's 19 PSA 10s, which isn't that different from three. I mean, it's different because it's 50 something years in the future, but it's 19 and three aren't that far apart. And the lower grades, there's a lot more lower grade mantles than there are of lower grade 71 biz. Obviously, as the pop reports continue to grow, maybe that's something that fixes, maybe it doesn't. But I mean, I think it makes a lot of sense for it to be compared that way. Will it ever be priced that way? I highly doubt it. But in terms of a card from that is like has characteristics of the 52 mantle. It's from a traditional set. It's very high condition scarcity. It wasn't manufactured to be rare. It's not serial numbered or anything like that. It's a GOAT status player in a huge sport. So for a lot of reasons, I do like it, but I highly doubt it ever sees the price volatility or price level the mantle has, obviously.
Hey guys, quick pause on this one. Hope you are enjoying the video, but I want to share two things with you. The first is my Patreon community. If you love this type of videos, you probably love my content on Patreon. I put a new Q&A every week there, and I also put extra audio that you can call a podcast on Saturday. If you join Patreon right now, you have hours and hours and hours of content. It's actually quite crazy. Link below the video if you want to join. In this case, link on the description. The second thing is my Discord server. Amazing place to interact with me, amazing place to interact with other collectors to learn about the soccer card market. We are more than 900 members and we are growing super fast. Link also below the video, check both, and now let's continue with this one. No, yeah, I feel you on that. I also think the Alif could be a good choice because in terms of PSA 9, to be fair, people really love the PSA 10 type of slab, but you have, I believe, 4 or 5. I'm actually not sure anymore, but I believe you have 4 or 5 PSA 9s Alifa, and that's the top grade. So that's a bit more comparable, maybe with Mental F3, I believe 10s. So even if Alif have 4 or 5. That will still be in the range of potentially crazy rarity, crazy demand for that card. But yeah,
Yeah, the only problem I have with the Olifa is that there's so many cards from that year for Pele or for even the year prior. Whereas for Messi, it's at least at this point, it seems super obvious that 71 Biz is the best one. If you go to Pele, is Olifa the best 58 for Pele? I mean, I saw in our Discord recently that I think it was Al posted, would you rather have a PSA 1 Americana or a PSA 2 Olifa? And the vast majority of people said a PSA 1 Americana. And I'd probably be in that group as well, but it's just something that's interesting to think about because I think it's very obvious what Messi's best rookie is. But for me, for 58, I'd rather have an Americana for Pele. That
No,
might not be the mainstream choice, but I think there are options.
I agree. I also end up voting for the American. And to be fair, I mean, if we want to be realistic, the Alif is not even a rookie for Pele. He's actually
Hmm.
a second year. But I guess Mickey Mantle is also second year in the
Second year.
52, so it kind of actually works nice there. But yeah, I don't know. I just don't think Alif have the same importance as Tops end up having with that set at the time. Was one of the first sets, as far I know, with
Yeah, that's the other thing is the brand of where the 71 biz comes from is so much stronger than Alifa is.
yeah,
So
it's,
that probably helps.
that's true. But both are great cards, and both would be amazing choices. I also think that there is a possibility, especially if the 57 Pelés they appear a bit more, because I actually think they need to appear a bit more to them to become even to become actually true icons in the card space.
Yeah.
But let's say if the American F57 appears a bit more instead of pop, I don't know, it's pop 2 or pop 3 right now, is pop 20, is pop, even pop 100. I guess it will take a very long time to get there.
Hmm.
But that in the top grade could actually become the Mickey Mantle of the soccer card market. I actually always felt that the card that we have in the market that is very similar in terms of eye appealing, but that's about it. Is actually the ABC Bobby Charlton.
Yeah.
Is actually my cat is appearing. Is actually uh, is a sub brand of Tops, or was not a sub brand. Sub brand is not the correct word. I believe subsidiary of Tops at the time in England. So there was some mystery there, but yeah, I mean, at the end of the day, this is just fun talk. I also don't even think Jeff Wilson believes really that the 7 on Bs will be the next Mickey Mantle card in the hobby. Is impossible? No. To be honest, it's not impossible. I mean, we see things changing so fast. But I even believe, and this is getting a bit out of the point right now, that even a card like Black Lotus can gain that status over time. Even in Pokemon, the trophy stuff. I think those could be the grails of the next 20 years because even in terms of demographics, we know things are changing quite a lot. I don't know a lot about the baseball, I totally admit, but I know he's not doing that well comparing with, for example, 10 years ago in terms of new people playing, new people actually enjoying the games. And we know that TCGs, pop culture stuff, look what's happening with Disney, even though it's a bit different. But
Hmm.
Pokemon, Magic, Yu-Gi-Oh, all of that stuff is so huge. I was talking with you off camera that there is content creators with 10 million subscribers doing content about Pokemon cards. So put that in perspective. If they really start talking about a specific card there, that stuff can get mainstream very, very quick. Look what Logan Paul did with Charizard, right?
Hmm.
So
Yeah, and I will say that like you talk about Black Lotus, that is so much infinitely more mainstream than any soccer card is even close
oh,
to right now. Like Black Lotus is literally a mainstream thing. Like you can talk to normal people and they probably know what that is and I've heard of it. They're like average people have no idea what any of these soccer cards are, but a lot of average people probably know Black Lotus.
just one note on that, James. I actually felt, and I know some people. So I'm about to piss off a lot of people right now, but I actually felt that the Alifa Bologet Pele at 1.3 million was too much. The reason I'm saying this is Black Lotus in the top grade, PSA 10. There is also a couple of there is actually a good amount of PGS 95s, but in a PSA 10 is pop 6 or 5. I know they end up removing one, but I'm not sure if he's in the pop again. But let's say pop 6, a bit
Mhm.
more than the Pele, and that card is half a million. And
Yeah.
I honestly don't see a lot of sense on that. I understand Pele is iconic, but in terms of lore, in terms of card history, is not even comparable. In the other end, you can make an argument that Black Lotus should be 1 million at this point and not half a million. So it's not that the Pelé that is super overpriced or was super overpriced, a lot of hype at the time, but also Black Lotus that needs some attention, some love. And if you compare Pokemon with Magic, my feeling is exactly the same. I feel Magic is a bit underappreciated right now because it's actually the first TCG, and that alone will always be such a powerful narrative. And to finish this, I don't think the Alifa Bologet as a card is overrated. I think is again probably the most important card in vintage. You can even make an argument that is the most important card in the market since it's the one that sells for the most even in lower grades. But
Mhm.
just comparing with the Black Lotus, I thought that card was a bit crazy. But you can make that argument for almost any sport card. I feel Magic is underrated.
Yeah, I don't think either of us would say no to purchasing an Alifa at this point, or any cards like that. It's just what is out there in perspective to it is always what's super interesting.
But honestly, look, I'm really trying to piss people off right now, but I actually think that you can make a solid argument that the Alif is overrated, honestly, because in terms of rarity, it's fairly rare, but you have a lot of different early releases for Pele that are quite scarcer. The Titulares, for example, especially the Portrait, and there is
Mhm.
even a couple of variations. The Pop Report, at least for now, and again things can change, but is much lower. And if you just go by appealing, I think a lot of people would put a lot of cards there. Look, the American is one example, but even the Aquarella being quite common, I think in terms of appealing, looks better than the Alif. Not saying have the same status because that does not have, but you can make a great argument that the Alif is overrated. But I guess, to be honest with you, you can make an argument that the Mega Crux Ronaldo is overrated, that the Messi 7 on Biz is overrated. You can
Yep.
say, oh, look at the Pop for the S. So is
Yeah,
very
there's
relative.
always going to be other options, and that's why narratives play such an important factor. Because especially for Pele rookies, there's like 20 of them. Whichever one has the strongest narrative is really shown to be the one that is the most valuable at this point.
Actually, this was months ago, but I was watching a live on YouTube. An American collector, I believe his tag on Instagram is the Brian Collection, something like that.
Yeah, yeah, I know what you're talking about.
He's a big collector. I mean, he does one thing that is his top 100 cards, and he makes video sharing his list of top 100 cards. And there is a couple of soccer cards there. There is the 7 on Bees. I don't think there is Ronaldo Mega Cracks or any Maradona, but Messi 7 Bees, I'm pretty sure that there is one. And he also have a Pelé, and I thought would be Alifa, since his collection is very expensive. But his rookie for Pelé was actually Aquarella, and
Mhm.
again, take this with a grain of salt, but he said that he believes that that card is, in terms of eye appealing, is the best looking Pele. And to be fair, looks quite nice.
Mhm.
And over time, because of availability, that in the top grades, that in top grades, better saying, that card can become the Grail. And I know right now we are not seeing that, but I don't even think it is that stupid of thought.
Yeah, we're still extremely early in terms of the amount of people that are in the market right now versus what we think could be in the market in like 30 years. So narratives will obviously continue to shift as they already have. I mean, what was it, 5 years ago that the Queagle was one of the most expensive Pelés, and now it's like not even close because people found out that it was not from 58. So stuff like that will continue to happen.
Yeah, the Quiggle was more expensive than low grades, at least wound up being more expensive than the Alifa.
Mhm.
And I saw live of Al LV Collection. I saw this live. I don't remember, probably 1 year ago or 2 years ago. That he said that for a long time the oh man, the Einarl card,
Mhm.
the Einarl Pelé was one of the most desirable cards for Pelé because people end up looking at that. This is a real card, so this should be the true rookie. Our recollection probably will watch this, at least I hope. And if I'm speaking something out of, if I did not understand your point, you can correct me on the comments. But I believe he said that the Einarl at one point was almost the mainstream card for Pele. And look, right now is, I mean, it's still an important card, but is not even
I
close
mean,
to
that
the
would make
most
sense
important.
for me because even if you go back as early as 2019 or early 2020, there were people that came into the market that specifically would not buy a sticker and were asking, what is the first card? So like the Zidane 1991 doesn't count for them. They want the first card. And so those people exist, or like 1999 Ronaldinho is a sticker. They want the first Ronaldinho card. There are a lot of
I
those people that joined the market.
that's a good point. When I created our community, the Discord server, I
Mhm.
remember having an argument with other collector that exactly basically what he said, that he was not collecting the Zidane foot 91, no, 91, no, 92, 90, season 91, 92, but he was collecting the card because for him that was the thing.
Yeah, it has to be a first card. Yeah.
And to be fair, that card have a premium if you think about, and probably that narrative is still present. Not as strong, since I feel like people accept stickers much more nowadays than in the past. But yeah,
Mhm.
that's a good point. So James, the question number two, again, not a question. The topic is actually this is a question. Did you watch the Golden Show? If so, what's your view about and the impact that show can have long run?
Yeah, so I did not watch the show, but I can give takes on it from what I've heard and what I've seen. Um, I don't really have much interest in it. Maybe I'll get around to doing it someday, but at least right now, it's just not something that's on my to-do list of things to watch. But the more important thing for me is I haven't seen anybody outside of the hobby that has said anything about it. If you even, I remember on the first weekend when I was trying to look for some sort of mainstream source to give a review on it, and none of those existed. So this thing did not hit the mainstream in any way. Like normal everyday people watching Netflix weren't watching this thing. The people that were watching it were hobby people. And so to that extent, I don't think it does anything for our market in terms of trying to gain a mainstream audience. If you looked at the trailer on YouTube and the views it had in comparison to other stuff Netflix has, I mean, the only hobby people were watching this. And so from that perspective, I just don't think it makes that much of an impact. It's probably cool just to have that to be able to point to it and say this is this niche thing that we have and it's for the hobby, but I don't think it makes much of a difference short or long term. I know I was watching Sports Card Radio and they said that they, over the weekend that it premiered, got the most sales that they ever got on Golden. And I imagine that to be the case, as a lot of hobby people or hobby adjacent people were watching the show. So they look at Golden, they buy things, that sort of thing. But it has not sustained in any way into these next few weeks. And so we'll see if that goes anywhere. But I just don't see how it's a big driver or anything like that.
Yeah. So actually, I'm not sure if you saw Reserved Investments. They did a video about that.
Mhm. I haven't seen his video on it actually.
No, he's kind of bearish about the show in general. Not nothing. Is nothing against Goldin or something. It's basically that believes those shows in the long run they don't even add a lot of value to this space. I kind of have again mixed feelings on that. I think your perspective, his perspective, is actually quite similar to yours, is valid. But I will try to make a positive case in the sense that so I'm not sure how mainstream the series end up being because it's also how popular Netflix is, and I'm
Mhm.
also not sure about that anymore. But I saw that at one point ended up being top 10 in Netflix America in the US. Also top 7 in Australia and New Zealand, and I believe top 7 or top 8 in the UK. Basically, the countries that actually impact or market a lot.
Mhm.
So I would say maybe not, a crazy success, but some type of success. Since if you make top 10 in these specific countries, probably a second season could be in the works. Since
Mhm.
I don't think what was a failure. Also, the impact on the market. Honestly, they end up not talking that much about cards in my perspective. Was a show that ended up focusing a lot on memorabilia, and that's
Mhm.
fine. I mean, collectibles are much more than cards, but I was hoping a bit more for cards because I know Goldin sells a lot of memorabilia, but and maybe I'm very off on this, but I always felt that cards end up being their main business, and the show ended up not passing that idea at all. I enjoyed the show, but I also think anyone that watches my content, your content, are card nerds at the end of the day. So
Yeah,
they
exactly.
they probably like this type of content. They probably like Pawn Stars. They like everything related with collectibles, with chasing, with selling. So I also think me in this case are probably not the best person to say if I was not a collector would I enjoy that or not. But at least did well in terms of numbers. I would assume. My biggest hope for that show is, first of all, I would love to have a second season, and eventually a lot of clips will start appear on YouTube. Pokemon is actually a great example of that. You probably saw already the clip where the King Pokemon goes with all the Charizards to
Mhm.
the Pawn Star show, and that was one of the first times Pokemon started gaining a lot of momentum in the card space. People forget, but Pokemon was for years and years the third TCG. Yu-Gi-Oh sold for was selling much more than Pokemon. Magic was even in a different level, even though Yu-Gi-Oh in Asia always had better sales than Magic. But Pokemon was not competing. I'm not saying that was the only thing. Pokemon Go also ended up helping a lot, but that type of stuff long run can actually impact the market. So imagine this was not the case. So I guess I'm not giving any spoilers. But imagine if they end up selling a Messi 7 on Bees, a guy got half a million or something crazy like that. That would be a clip that will stay on YouTube forever, 10 years plus, and that alone can someone, oh, look at football cards, they sell for a lot, look at this clip, because they it's difficult to show one video that I make on YouTube or your videos. We don't have the production, we don't have
Yep.
that virality to make things very watchable in 1 minute or two and explain everything. So I hope they do a second season. I hope they talk more about soccer, and I think talking about soccer will be actually really good for them to be honest. Yeah, but that's about it. I thought was good, but I'm a card nerd. Mixed feelings, honestly.
Yeah, like you say, the short form clips that are able to gain mainstream virality, that's what is really key for these things. I mean, one of the clips that's been going around at least recently in the the stories or threads that I get is the one where Post Malone's on a radio show talking about how much he spent on his Black Lotus, and that thing has like 2 million plays or something that's crazy like that. Like that's a mainstream virality sort of thing. So if you can have those sort of moments, that's really what helps move the needle.
So on the top 100 cards that not the top 100, but the top 100 stuff that Goldin is promoting right now, the auction,
Mhm.
you know what I'm talking about, right?
Yeah, yeah.
They actually have a Black Lotus there. I believe is beta, but is a card that actually have an error. There is
Mhm.
no back. It's actually very rare. But they end up using that clip, the
Yeah.
Post Malone talking about it. And I feel like I could be wrong. If there is a second season, that stuff will appear. I have a feeling that they also understood that they need to talk. Magic is an example, but even Pokemon, they should talk a bit more because people in Europe will consume that. So I have a fun story. When the first episode, to be fair, they released all the episodes, but when I watched the first episode, I had a friend at my house, and I ended up putting that on the TV, and when Goldin starts talking about the baseball stuff, was very boring for him. For me, was
Mhm.
okay since I'm already familiar with certain names in baseball. But when they started talking about the Messi jersey, I believe second or third episode, I'm not sure, that was completely different.
Yeah.
So I think it's interesting to see how they will develop the if there is a second season. We don't even know. I believe.
Yeah, the more you can merge it with mainstream things, the better, because you have to create that link. Because sports collectibles and then even sports cards on top of that are niches within niches, so you have to find ways to sort of bridge that gap.
Yeah.
And like Post Malone bridges that gap because everyone's like, "Oh, I know Post Malone." And literally everyone in the world knows Post Malone. And so when you're able to have that person bridge that gap to that niche, it makes things a lot more easy to understand.
And they talk a good amount about Pokemon. They have Logan Paul there, etc. So
Mhm.
again, the show was well done, and there was a couple of people there that I thought ended up performing very well. I don't remember the name of one woman there, but he basically is in what's the word, narration the show, narrates the show
Yep.
is how we say it, right? And I thought she did a really good job. So I like it in general, to be honest. So the second question, not the second, the third question, and again, no, not a question, a topic, but it's about the new releases in soccer. I saw some hype around Select. At least is the release. I feel like I saw more people talking about. What are your thoughts on it? And is Select making a comeback? Because I feel like Select for I would say 1 year or two was quite down, but right now, at least I see more people talking about.
Yeah, I mean, so we're sort of in the release window for product for this past season. It's everything sort of comes a year delayed. So the product for 2022 is finally now coming out that we're in 2023. And so every couple of weeks we're getting a new product, and that new product gets really popular as everybody's talking about it and breaking it and all that sort of stuff. I mean, I personally used to love new products because you'd get a new checklist, you'd go through it, you'd see all the players in it, you'd look at all the parallels and all that kind of stuff. But now there's just so many that every player is in so many different sets and they have so many different cards that it's hard for me to get excited about any individual one. But the flavor of the week right now seems to be the Select set because it's Select, it's making a comeback. There's older versions of Select, there's now this one, there's some inserts and all that kind of stuff. If any of them have long-term viability, I have no idea. But in the short term, new product will always, at least it seems right now, new product always gets people excited. I mean, I can remember a year ago when the latest Obsidian set came out, people started to get really excited about Obsidian and the floods from previous years or Contra from previous years. Then that release window goes and something else new comes out and people talk about that product. So it's sort of just the waves of the market. In terms of Select in general, I traditionally go by what I see in other sports, and for at least basketball and football, Select is like a third tier product behind Prism's at the very top. Then you have Optic sort of in between Select and Prism, and then you have Select below those two. So I try and equate that across all the different sports, and so I would say it's somewhere below Optic in my opinion, and then way below Prism and Chrome and what we have here.
Okay, that's fair. I kind of trust you on that. I see people on Discord talking. I also see some stuff going on eBay. Um, Actually related with this, but not exactly related with Select. So, and this is actually the next question, to be honest. It's related with Chrome 2017 that a Messi Gold PSA 10 sold for 12K. And that for this market, I feel fairly strong. I mean, people say, oh, in the past sold for more, but I mean, we also have to put in perspective the market we have now versus the market we had in the past. But basically trying to put everything together there, and I guess we can also talk about that sale. So, not sure if it was yesterday or 2 days ago. That does not matter that much. We end up talking about that sale, and Chrome 2017 actually is gaining a lot of momentum. I've been gaining a lot of momentum for the last 12 months, I feel like. And Thomas, and a member of our community, said that if you compare the Chrome 2017 with the new Chromes right now, that Chrome had over 500 numbered cards. If you put the autos, I believe is around 600. And that's not a lot comparing with what we have nowadays. You end up sharing the numbers for 21 Chrome or 22, I'm not sure, but it's basically 2.5K,
Yeah.
and I feel like Select is probably the same thing. To be fair, Select, even in the first year, they had a good number of numbered cards, and they have a lot of inserts with crazy number of variations. So basically, my point with this is that the new product. I don't think is doing it right. I talked about this actually on Patreon that I feel weird when a card have 5 1-of-1s. That's for
Yeah.
me is just
The
nonsense.
Messi World Cup Prism has 4 1-of-1s.
It's just nonsense. I think at least the 1-of-1, keep it clean. There is one. the gold
Yep.
refractor, the black refractor, the super refractor, whatever. Pick one, and that's it. So going to the select point blows my mind one thing. Every time there is a new set, the first week, I'm not even talking about sealed product. The singles they sell for a lot. Actually, I was watching a couple of sales in Select, like I told you, and also in Optic. A couple of inserts for Messi are really, really nice, but they go for so much. And I saw this 1 year ago with a different set, and people always do this mistake, and I don't get why. So in Magic, that also happened when a new
Yep.
set appears. People go bananas for the cards, but the reason is different because they need the cards to play in tournaments. So they know they are paying at the top of the market, but they kind of need them. If they end up being able to wait one mount, they will be much cheaper. But at least they need them and they can justify. I mean, we don't need this new Messi insert now. We can buy it 1 month from now, 1 year from now, but people still FOMO into that. It's crazy.
Yeah, they just I have a video where I talk about this, but it's just FOMO, and it happens with literally every single product throughout the last few years. Is the singles will hit the market on the first week and they'll sell for crazy numbers, and then if you wait 4 weeks after that, they'll be half the price, 75% of the price, something crazy like that. It's just when the product first comes out, people go crazy because they want it like right now. I don't know why, but people just really want to get it right away. The only time you need a FOMO like that is if like you really want the one of one or you're trying to complete the rainbow and one of the low numbered ones comes up and you don't have another chance at it. But everything else you're gonna see again over the next few weeks.
But even if, I mean, I would understand much more if you are foaming, if you have a lot of FOMO for a new kid, a rookie, that you think,
Mhm.
okay, this guy will be the next big thing, even though the psychology of the market will still be against you in the long run, I feel like. But I would understand a bit more. You feel like you find the next Messi, and if you buy everything right now, maybe in the future you will have a great return. But if you
Mhm.
are buying Cristiano Ronaldo inserts, Messi inserts, even Mbappe nowadays, you don't need to foam. I mean, those cards will go down eventually. Sure, there will be an exception that all of the sudden. Oh, look, when what's the name, the beam team cards end up appearing in
Mhm.
soccer, they end up selling. If you go back, they end up selling for a lot of money in the first week, and after that, yeah, they have a market, but they are down right now, or at least more stable right now. And if you want to buy a Messi, Mbappe, whatever, you can have a much better entry point than buying exactly when people are opening product.
Yeah, I was just gonna look up right now and see what the prices on the most recent Messi Kaboom are, and just to see if they've already dropped, because that at least in my opinion, in this most recent optic set is probably the best looking card. So I was just gonna see if what prices have done over the past week, just to see if they've dropped.
I remember when David Beckham had a kaboom in the Don Ross's Go to
Mm,
Qatar or something like that, right?
yep.
People went crazy for that card for some reason. Look, nothing against David Beckham. I think he was a great player. But I thought, oh man, people really, really FOMO hard into this type of stuff. I would bet my house that card is really down right now.
Yeah, so the Messi has had auctioned as high as 1,700, and the most recent sale was 1,200.
But
So
I
it's not
mean,
that bad, but
but it's still, I would say, recently, if you put in perspective, the gap is let's say one more year, two more years, and I think things will get even more bananas.
yeah.
So, so related with this question was about the Messi Gold Chrome that sold for 12K. Um, so, what your thoughts on Chrome right now, also, and how do you see that price? Because I feel like it's a great card. There is no doubt about that, but there is a bit of a gold premium also there, because the orange sells for much less, and the green. So the orange is twice rare. The green is twice more common, but the difference is so big in both
Yeah.
spectrums that I would love to know your thoughts.
Yeah, I mean, in terms of the number, I think it's a really strong sale. The most recent sales before that were in like December, and it sold for 14 or around 14. And so 6 months later, selling for 12. I think that's really good, especially considering that's another 6 months of sort of the down market that we've been in. So from that perspective, I think it's really good. We talked about this before we recorded, but in terms of Messi cards that have demand, that is one of the most in demand Messi cards because so many people are looking for 2017 Chrome, and so many people put a premium on gold that when a 2017 Chrome Gold Messi comes up, there's just a lot of people that really want that card, and so it's able to have sales like that, at least in my opinion. In terms of the premium that gold receives, it used to be a lot crazier. Right now, it's like 2x or 3x the orange, which is the orange is twice as rare, but sells for about half. I think that makes some sense to me, to be honest. I'd probably pay twice as much for the gold just because I'm one of those people that really likes the aesthetic of the gold versus the orange. But I can understand on the other side the people that would say, no, I'd rather have the orange because it's more rare. But I think 2x or somewhere around there makes sense just from a demand scale. It was when gold was selling for like 10x and random golds were selling for $10,000. That's when it was completely out of hand. Like when the 2017 select field level Messi sold for like 75 grand, and that's like 271 biz in top grade. That's when it just gets ridiculous. But nowadays, I think it makes more sense where they're worth 2x of what an orange is, or ratios like that sort of feel more in line.
Do you think that I agree, but I'm still not sure for one reason. The red I know was a auto red, but was
Mhm.
a I believe pop one that sold in gold or gold in for 30k. If you put in perspective that you could, I know 30k is not 12k, but still, I mean, it's basically
If I mean if I had the 30K to spend, I'd rather have the red. But if I had the 30K to spend, I'd want to.
no,
The higher you go up the scale, the more I would want.
but if you had 30k, would you prefer two golds or one red?
No, one red.
Yeah, that's why I feel like there was a bit of a gold premium there, but also probably that the buyer's pool is bigger on 12k than there is on 30k.
Yeah.
Even though, again, I also can make an argument that 30k for that Messi was crazy, crazy low. Honestly, that card was 100k at one point, so.
Yeah.
But yeah, it's interesting to think about that. Also related with this, and I was talking with you offline. When I shared this sale on the good or bad deals on Discord, Niels ended up bringing something quite interesting, and shout out to him that that's not even a top 100 card for Messi, and that's true. I mean, if you think about, you have all the BGS 9 5s on 7 on Bs, the Alta 10s, then a bunch of super fractors, then a bunch of gold Prism 2014, the
A
reds.
bunch of reds out of 10. Yeah.
So you have a lot of cards. So realistic, that card could be, again, this is from the top of my head, but top 200, top 300, maybe top 400. I don't know for sure, but top 100, I really don't think that that's the case. Just with the examples I end up sharing, but it's crazy to think that we are buying, not we, but someone bought a card that is not a top 100 card for Messi, and that to pay more than 10k, had to pay 12k.
Mhm.
If you really think about, apart from Pele and Messi, the other players will be very cheap to buy a top 100 card. Very cheap comparing with what we have to pay for Messi.
Mhm.
Again, if you want to buy, and I understand he's not in the same level, but if you want to buy a Modric, a top 100 card will not be that expensive.
I think I probably just bought a top 100 Madrid card. I bought the red 2017 Chrome insert out of 10, and that was like $75. That's
Okay, but
probably a top 200-ish card for him, and that's nothing.
let's go even to the base card in the red. How
Mhm.
much is that?
Uh,
To be fair, could be a lot of money because the
yeah,
reds
it's a lot more.
go the
Like I
reds go
think
a
I
bit
saw one in a
insane.
yeah, I saw one in a PSA 10 in China sell for like 2,000 or something. So raw, it's
2000.
probably like
Yeah,
raw, it's probably like 500 to $1,000.
Okay, that's that, but that's not even a lot actually, because at one point, to be fair, that sale was bananas. But a Lewandowski red sold for 4K or
Yeah,
5K on the LCC, and a
color
Neymar,
match.
a Neymar also sold for 5K. I feel like a red,
Yeah.
and I would put Modric more or less around them. So let's say even 5K. I mean, 5K is a lot of money, to be honest, but it's just. I thought was a great point by Niels, because when you put it in perspective, you also can see how deep the Messi market is. Because even a top 500 card, not saying is this the case for the goal, because I think ranks a bit higher than that. But even
Hmm.
a 500, a top 500 card for Messi, you have to pay a lot of money. I don't know the value, of course. This is very subjective. But looking at the options we have right now in the market, you have to pay a lot of money. And for almost any other player in the soccer card market, that's not the case. But you also end up sharing an argument to me offline that I thought was really good. That okay, maybe not a top 200 or top 300 card for Messi, but in terms, and you already end up touching on that, but in terms of demand, in terms of being the card,
Hmm.
that card is easily top 100
Yeah. In
Messi.
terms of Messi cards people are looking for, that might be like a top 20 or top 10. Like just the demand for that card is insane. And it's part of it is because of it's within that $10,000 range, so you get a wider audience. But I feel like there's a lot of people that are in the pool for that card.
I also think probably in modern, for Barcelona, that's the card with the highest demand.
Hmm.
Because I know
Yeah,
the
probably.
flawless stuff sells for more, but is not as mainstream as the Chrome card,
Yeah.
for good or for worse, to be honest. But
Yeah. They appear less too, and they're more expensive. So like they can be better, but in terms of demand, like I said, I think maybe even of all old modern era ish cards, that might be the most in demand one. Probably even more in demand than the
and Prism,
2014 Prism Gold because nobody can actually afford that.
yeah, I don't know. I think the yeah, difficult to say. I think the Prism stuff with Messi winning with Argentina got a bit more attention right now.
I
In
think the
the
colored tens of that 2014 set, those are probably some of the most in demand. Not the gold, obviously, because nobody can afford it, but the other ones probably super, super high demand as well.
Yeah, the if you look, and I have one PSA 9 blue. The blue gets a lot of attention every time appears on the market. Probably because matches very very well with
Yeah.
Messi. Um, but is another card. Of course, that card is not a top 100 card or a top 200. But in terms of people recognizing that card, and I guess even you can even put the base all together. In terms of people knowing about, it is one of the 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 top dogs in the market for Messi.
Yeah, it's the Messi Prism rookie.
No, for sure. The last topic, James, is basically market talk in general. Hot take. How do you feel about the market we have right now? Just again, a free question, to be honest.
Yeah, I guess since this is a free question, I'll talk about this. So Folarin Balogun commits to the United States. He's a
Mhm.
striker prospect that's playing in League One or in France. He's owned by Arsenal. They probably won't call him back. He'll probably transfer to some other big second or third tier club. And but the important thing is he transferred or filed his switch to go to the United States and play striker for them. I have never seen a hotter player in this market since COVID than Balogun right now. I have a PSA 10 that's running on auction at Probstein right now of his. It has 117 watchers with like 4 days left. That's the most watchers I've ever had on any card. And like I've sold hundreds of cards. I've never had something with 117 watchers. So that sort of stuff is insane to me. Obviously, the United States men's national team still means a lot, and people are still hyped on prospects and all that sort of stuff. But I've sold a lot of cards. I've never had 117 watchers on a card before.
But again, this is me being very ignorant about this topic. But the kid is really good, right?
Yeah, he's like top five in goals in the French league right
The
now,
French
and he
league,
plays
yeah.
for a mid-table team.
Oh yeah, I mean, I guess I talked about this. You probably also talked about this for a long time. That good chance that in the next World Cup, Pulisic is not the biggest star for American. Maybe he's that guy.
Yep.
Imagine if he transfers to Liverpool or something. I have no idea, or even if goes back to a top club. You said he's from Arsenal, right?
Yeah, he's on loan from Arsenal, but there's rumors he'll go to like a top club in Germany or top club in France. So he's going to go somewhere big.
Imagine if he goes to Bayern Munich and is all of a sudden their number nine.
Yeah.
Pulisic narrative will be completely out of the window. To be fair, it was a question of time until that happened because
Hmm.
Pulisic, I feel like, represents kind of the first big guy of this new generation, and that's fine. But America is producing a lot of talent right now, so it was a question of time until even a bigger player will appear. And even for this guy, potentially that there is another kid that will appear that will make the headlines in the future. But that's good for the US team. And
Yeah.
it will be nice
Yeah.
if you guys had a really strong team in 2026.
Yeah, and there's still a ton of interest on like the U.S. team and the U.S. soccer market and prospecting, all that kind of stuff. I mean, you don't just get that many watchers and that many sales. I mean, you can look back over the past 2 days, the number of sales that he has. It's ridiculous how much stuff is selling for him. And so I was just comparing that to like Erling Haaland, for example. He's had one of the best seasons of all time in the Premier League. He's broken the scoring record. His prices have like not moved at all over the past 6 to 12 months. Whereas you have a random guy playing in the French league that commits to the United States, and now his prices are going like 200, 300% up over the course of a week. Will they drop? Yeah, sure. But are they going to be, is the return on him better than Holland over the past year?
Oh
Like a
yeah.
1,000%. Yeah. So it's just really interesting where the market's at right now.
So when the market was still fairly strong, I remember Comsi making posts about what are the players selling the most in different sports.
Hmm.
And Pulisic was top three, top five most of the time. A lot of times ahead of Mbappe, for example. So, and
Yeah.
if you really compare the quality of good players, is incomparable. But I mean, America have a lot of power in the market. I feel like eventually that will be less relevant since I feel like we are growing international quite a lot. But that will take a long time. I mean, Americans are still a powerhouse buying at buying cards. And
Hmm.
look, I said this a couple of times. People say, "Oh, Pulisic crazy. Don't you think that's bananas?" Pulisic is probably the player in the market where his quality is far off from his prices. He's probably the worst player that you can find. But if you really think about it, kind of makes sense because if that's the best guy for the country that spends the most money, of course there will be a lot of demand. So
Yeah,
and
it's all about the demand side. And the demand side, since like you say, the market is so, at least right now, American focused, that there's a lot of dollars that are wanting to be spent on Americans. So if a Pulisic card sells for $1,000, you can compare it straight to a Messi, but that buyer was not going to buy a Messi. They wanted to buy the best US player.
yeah, I mean, you probably know the account I'm talking about. There is a guy on Instagram. I forgot his name. That he buys the all the super refractors for
Yeah,
American.
DC, I forget his name. I think it's like DC Deacons or something like that. He has like every United States men's national team one of one.
No, and he's a big guy at a gaming company, Bethesda, I believe, the company that made Elder Scrolls.
Mhm.
So yeah, I mean, there is money on that market for sure. But I don't know. I feel like if and for example, I know you like for logic reasons. If you like to collect American players, do it. At the end of the day, it's also about enjoying. But if you are looking up from outside, you don't even care a lot about American players, and you are trying to speculate. Yeah, be careful because you also can
Yeah.
find a really big bet.
Yeah, if I was not American, I would be 100% avoiding the United States side of the market because it is like you said before, the difference between player quality and price is the greatest that we have in the market. I mean, unless you bring up guys from England like Rashford and Foden when they used to sell for ridiculous prices, but other than that, it's the US guys are so different in terms of price versus quality.
Yeah, I mean. you can buy a random Portuguese guy that, in terms of qualities, is as good as Pulisic, and he's like
Mhm.
$12 for the gold out of 10. So,
Yeah, exactly. Like a David Neres superfractor
yeah.
is probably like $500.
So
And what's a $500 Pulisic get you?
imagine if David Neres was a American player. So
Yeah.
especially because of his play style, there will be 100% a lot of hype around him.
Yeah,
So,
but that's just how the market goes.
no, for sure. So, James, any final thoughts on this?
uh yeah, in terms of like the more goat side of the market, Messi seems to still be going pretty stable.
Oh yeah,
Um is there's certain cards like the Barcelona rookies are dipping a little bit, like 10-15% or something like that over the past year, but the rest of the stuff for him seems really stable. The other goats, they're not stable. Pele, Ronaldo, and Maradona are all dropping a lot harder than Messi is, but it just comes with the territory. Messi's sort of now looked at as the guy for the hobby, and he's really starting to separating himself. So that kind of makes sense in my opinion.
I feel like if when Messi won the World Cup, I mean, at that time, that was the market was not the card market. I'm saying all the other markets are being in shambles. I feel they are a bit,
Yep.
even though with the bank stuff, I'm not sure if we are in a better spot or not. But at that time, there was a lot of fear in the market. In December was really, really, really
Yeah,
bad.
that was actually some of the bottoms. I was looking just before this. The S&P 500 is up like 5 or 10% on the year. So
No, yeah.
we're in a much better place than we were then. At least
I
the stock market is.
I wonder if Messi won the World Cup and the market was uh, not even a bull run, but a stable market, a market that has some confidence. I think right. I think if that ended up happening, we probably would have some records in a lot of Messi cars. I think they did well comparing with
Mhm.
with even November, for example. But
Yeah, if you bought Messi like 71 biz in November, you bought at the ultimate peak because
yeah,
I don't think they're going to go below where they were then. They've bridged a pretty nice trend line since then.
Yeah, but I also feel like not only for Messi, and maybe I will be so wrong on this one, but I feel like in December there was a lot of cars that end up hitting the bottom. I,
Yeah,
I
it was like that second week of the World Cup when everything got dumped onto the market and certain players didn't look like they were going to win. That's when you hit the bottom for a lot of different players.
Even if you look at PWCC, man, there was so much heat every week. It was
Yep.
crazy. You have a week that you have PSA 4 Ronaldinho, PSA 6, then all of a sudden a guy flashes a BGS 9, and you are like,
Well,
oh
there
my
was like
god.
771 biz every week.
It was
It was crazy.
impossible for market to absorb all of that. Apart from that, so much fear around traditional markets, the traditional type of investments, that I really feel like that probably was the bottom in a lot of cards. Again, who knows with with all of the bank stuff going, especially I believe in America right now. But there is a case that our market saw the bottom for certain cards, of course. So others
Mhm.
probably will still go down, but for certain cards in December, and
Yeah, and like you were saying about a strong market, what would Messi do in a strong market if he won the World Cup? I think we saw it for a day that the when he won the tournament that day, it was crazy if you looked through the sales history. Like there was so much Messi being sold. Now it wasn't going up like 200% or anything, but the amount of volume that was sold that day, I remember it was just insane.
I had a couple of cards on fixed prices for Messi, and
Mhm.
I got a bunch of offers, and I was
Yeah,
not getting any offers until then. So I saw it automatic because I started.
yeah, yeah.
You get the email from BWCC, and I was like, oh my god, what's going on? Actually, there is a PSA 10 right now at auction.
Mhm.
Uh, Someone on the Discord said that will go below 250K, I
I
believe,
think he said below 200 or 250, something like that.
something like that. I'm not sure. I mean, the card is already over 150k with 1 month to go. So, but again,
Yeah.
sometimes is that, and then it's like that. So it's impossible
I
to.
just hope Jeff ends up buying it. He's said in like three straight episodes that he's like hinted that he's going to try and buy it. So I hope he does.
To be fair, imagine if you are the guy that thought I'm gonna win that, and you see Jeff Wilson talking so much, and you're like, oh my god.
Yeah, no, you're gonna have to pay an extra 50K.
No, you have to be against him. But no, but yeah, just to finalize these thoughts about the market, I feel the market is actually quite okay right now. I feel is a stable market. Stable for what we have going on in the world, if that makes sense. And actually, I will record after this the weekly PWCC live that I do
Mhm.
on YouTube. But I'm already expecting not a lot of stuff there. I feel like PWCC is crazy week. Gold
Yeah.
in with this auction is very strong, but it's a very particular auction. But even gold in, I sometimes I go to see the marketplace they have with the weekly auctions, etc. And I also don't see that many of, at least comparing with what we saw in December, is night and day, honestly.
I will say though, eBay's gotten some really good cards recently. Like the 2017 Chrome Messi gold, that was an eBay auction, which is a little interesting. I'm not sure if you
Actually,
noticed, but I'll just say this really quick. I'm not sure if you noticed, but over the past 2 days, two 2014 Prism 101s have been listed on eBay auction.
oh
So like
really?
if anybody wants to watch those, there's two of those.
What players?
It's Gian for Ghana and Samuel Eto'o.
Ooh, at toys, kind of big.
Yeah. So
The
they're like not bad cards.
that's interesting. Yeah, toy is kind of a big deal on the set. No, actually, one thing that I forgot to mention, and I was thinking about this before we started recording, is so just to put in perspective, the Messi Gold sale, 12k, a PSA 10 Ronaldo Orange auto sold
Mhm.
for I believe 3.6k.
Yeah.
How crazy is that? I mean, again, I understand there is a premium for Messi. I understand there is a premium for gold, but 3.6k for a card that is twice as rare as the gold, I believe is pop five or pop three.
Yeah,
I
something
saw,
crazy.
but something really low. But I don't know. Look, I bought a Messi BGS 95 for a bit over 4k, and then I compare with this. Again, I understand the PSA 10, the gold, but I really even think that the green in general is low comparing with the gold, but because the green in a PSA 10 was 2.8k, in a PSA 9 is maybe even 1k,
Yeah.
1.2k. So I just see too much of a difference, knowing that the rarity is different, but is not night and day. A card out of 50, a card out of 99. Yeah, I get the point, but should not be, if you compare, and this is an unfair comparison, the PSA 9 versus the PSA 10 Goldie is a 10x all of the sudden. And I think it's a bit ridiculous for a numbered card.
Yeah. And talking about Ronaldo real quick, did you see on PWCC the PSA 9 that got flashed, the rookie sticker?
Oh, yeah. Sold
Yeah, it's
for,
it's sold for 5K.
I thought it was a good deal, no?
Yeah, I thought about buying it. I mean, so the thing about that sticker is there's like only I think it's 40 that are between PSA 9 and 10, maybe less than that, 30 or 40 PSA 9s and 10s. Those like never come up. Like the last time one of those sold was August of last year.
But
So that's a sticker that just doesn't come to market.
that sticker had a problem. I thought was a bit off center for a
Yeah, it's
9.
OC. Yep.
So it's kind of like he's a 9, yes, but not all nines are equal, right? But yeah, I mean, 5k or 4k or whatever it was, I think is a nice deal. But
Yeah, it sold for like half of the previous.
I really like that sticker. I said a couple of times, I even like the sticker more than the card because of the rarity and also because of the history that the sticker
It's
culture
also
have in Europe.
it's a more traditional sticker than the Messi one is. Like if the Messi one was a portrait like that, I think it
Yeah.
would do a lot better.
No, for sure. I think in terms of eye appealing, the two most iconic stickers that we have in the market is the Ronaldo and the Zidane. I think those two stickers
I also
are
like the 94 Ronaldo.
Yeah, the 94 Ronaldo is also really nice. But I don't know. I think the Ronaldo is super iconic, and I also think the Zidane, the yellow borders on Zidane are really nice.
Oh, the red Henri is good too.
They're also really good. I just think is a tier below in terms
Yeah.
of quality of the player. But I also like it a lot. Panini Foot that does amazing stickers too. To be honest,
Yeah. Could you imagine if the Mbappe was a single sticker portrait?
it will be. I mean, yeah. I also think that's one of the reasons that that sticker, to be fair, does well in the market, saying there's not. But if that sticker
Mm.
was a lone sticker, big like the Zidane,
Yeah, with
saying
the blue borders and everything. It looks great.
saying Panini Foot on the back, I think people
Yeah.
would look at that and recognize that much more, and even in terms of lineage, even though it's still Panini Foot, but if it was just one player, will be incredible. And
Yeah.
I don't dislike or horizontal stickers, to be honest, but there is something classic about the typical portrait, So
Yeah, it's just better to display, right? At the end of the day, at the end of the day, you don't want to see Mbappe and I think it's Gene that he's paired with. You just don't want that on there.
I don't I know the player, but I don't even know. Yeah, but I believe is that name actually.
Yeah, yeah.
Now that you are talking about,
I mean, could
um,
you imagine if like Michael Jordan's key rookie had like another player on half of it?
yeah, but it's different, right? You guys have
Yeah,
crazy stories, crazy history with cards in soccer. Is so recently that you get whatever you can,
yeah,
But yeah, I mean, Messi, to be honest, at least. Actually, Messi is likely in the sense that the SS sticker being the only sticker kind of makes it a bit unique because the others are cards, so at least you have some
mhm,
separation there. But actually, to finalize my thoughts on that Ronaldo sticker, I love the sticker, but I would be a bit afraid buying that one right now. Not, and it's not even because I think the Ronaldo market is going down or something like that. Even though you can make a case that probably there is still some pain to to appear on that market. But I feel like PSA should explain what's going on with stickers, and maybe this
yeah.
is. I mean,
Same thing with the Messi Este that they refuse to grade.
yeah, I mean, there is stickers for the Ronaldo getting graded, so it's not like the asset that all of a sudden is nothing. But I feel like a lot of stickers, and I cannot remember all to be honest, but I was doing some research on that. The PSA pop reports, they basically kind of stopped, or they have one every 2 months. And
Mhm.
I'm not sure if that's because they are really difficult to find. For the Ronald one, even could be the case because I feel that's a difficult sticker. But for others, I don't know. I mean, the SS sticker for sure there is something going around.
Yeah, of course.
But yeah, that would be my point. Even though I love stickers, but I'm not sure if something a bit funky is going on or not. And if there is nothing, I will be happy. But just take a look at gem rate, and you see. I mean, it's weird that last year every month there was, and this is X sticker. There is no sticker in particular,
Yeah.
but X sticker had like 5 or 10 per month. Right now, 0 or 1, and
Yep.
I'm not sure what's going on there. But yeah.
Hopefully it means that well, at least we hope that it means that PSA has gotten good enough to identify fakes and
Of
there's
course.
not a lot of them left.
To be fair, that's also scary because if right now they are grading the real, in the past he was grading. Yeah, to be fair, that's a good point, but also a scary point if you really think deep.
Yeah, but hey, as long as they're offering the guarantee, I feel somewhat safe, right?
No, yeah, for sure. And PSA does a great job in general comparing with the other companies. I feel like, yeah, there is some fakes on PSA from time to time, but when you compare with BGS, especially, they do an incredible job. So.
The CSGS Stay Messy stickers that show up like every other week.
Yeah, but CGC also graded a couple of fakes messy, but
Yeah.
I know they actually end up doing some refunds for the
Oh,
persons
that's
that
good.
bought. They also did that with the fake with some fake Charizard that they end up grading. It's not ideal. Again, I mean, there is always lost, and even if the person gets the money, maybe the person leaves the hobby. So it's always a loss at the end of the day.
I mean, it's better than Beckett saying they're not fake. Just buy them.
Beckett is the worst on that, to be honest. But
Beckett has done their research. They've determined that it is real.
yeah,
Have you seen that on the new PWCC auctions where it's like it's been reviewed by Beckett as authentic and it's still fake?
it's crazy. And because the at least one of the Zidanes that when appeared for the first time, I sent an email to a person that I know on PLCC, and I'm not sure if my email was the reason or not, but I felt at least I probably had some impact on that getting removed. And I assume what they did is they sent to Beckett, said, "Oh,
Yep.
look, these guys are saying this is fake." They said, "No, it's real." And I mean, of course, they will trust Beckett more than they trust me or you. But I'm not sure if that's the great call when it comes to soccer.
Yeah, no, it's just what it is. But yeah, I mean, overall, the market seems to be in a decent place right now. Sky's not falling anymore. Messi seems pretty stable. Some other stuff seems like it's in a good spot. But as we've always said about this market, it's if you have a long-term outlook, I think it's always, at least when, as long as things aren't going like this, like a crazy line to the moon, it feels like it's a good time to buy if you have a long-term time horizon.
No,
As long as you're buying the key stuff, like
I agree.
focusing in on key stuff.
And key stuff just for people to have this in mind and to left some type of advice, not financial. But so we end up talking about a bit about modern, and I can talk from experience. It's very easy to get caught into modern. Very, very easy. I mean, there is so many beautiful Messi inserts. There is so many
There's more
crazy.
this year too. Like even over the first few months. So we're only in May right now. There's already like 10 new Messis that look like ridiculously good.
Yeah. So my point with all of this is time is not your friend on that type of stuff. Time will make a lot of that stuff irrelevant. So time is amazing in things with great fundamentals, in really, really key sets, key cards. And for Messi, again, try to buy the best grades you can, the 7-on-Bs, the ST sticker, or even second year cards with early with Argentina. And coming from a guy that in the past was focusing too much in vintage and pre-modern. But even if you want to buy modern, try to focus on really, really key sets. If you love Prism, if you love the national team, I think that's a great option. If you love high end, if you have the money to buy high end, I think Flawless is probably a great option. Maybe some Eminence, not for Messi, but for the other players, could be a great option. If you love the Chrome Topps brand, probably Chrome could be. I'm saying the first years, by the way, because there will be a guy that just. I'm saying buy Chrome and he buys the new Chrome set and then regrets. So of course I'm talking about the key things in those brands. And of course you
But
also can speculate a bit, but be careful.
yeah, I mean the thing is they will always and into forever make better looking cards. They cannot into the future make more historically significant cards than that have already been made. Like
Yeah.
the ones that have come before, they've already come and gone. They can't make any more, and they have historical or narrative significance going into the future. It's very hard right now for them to bring out a new set in 2023 or 2024 and say this is now a very significant set.
Exactly. I mean, artists gonna art, and I
Yeah,
think that's quite evident. I mean, I also think the Kaboom for Messi is nice. I think the inserts they
I
have
think it's
been,
the best looking Kabuni he's had so far. And
yeah,
that's funny because now he has like five, but I think this is the best looking one.
but probably the next one will be even better,
Yeah,
because
I
they
mean,
are
there's probably gonna be
improving.
one where he's holding the trophy, and that one's gonna be the best one.
Yeah, imagine that, or imagine if they make a Kaboom with the jersey at
Yeah,
Barcelona.
exactly, exactly.
So if you are just buying because of art, eye appealing photo, you will regret a lot. If you are collecting and if money is not a problem, this is not even a conversation for you.
Yeah,
But if you are just buying with, oh, this is a great buy because this card looks amazing and other people will recognize, that may work short term, mid term, but long run, you are doomed. There is no way around that. I give this example. The more messes they make, the more special the 7-on-Bs gets. Because 2,000 cards made this year for Messi. Guess what? That was the first. So the narrative gets stronger over time, and this logic can be applied even in key sets in modern. Because I also know some people don't like to buy cards that are not numbered, since they don't trust supply. But even if you buy the Prism stuff in 2014, the more Prism sets that appear, the more specially that set gets. You can even make an argument that the more modern sets appear, the more the Prism stuff gains a premium. Again, the same logic applies with Chrome. The more Chrome sets that are made, the more specially the first one gets. And again, run.
Whichever set narrative you like, if you like Merlin Chrome, if you like Stadium Club Chrome, the most important one will always be the first one.
The only thing I would say against those sets, and I like them to be honest, I actually, from all of these new sets, Chrome, especially Chrome variants, I kind of like Merlin and Stadium for different reasons. I think Stadium, because I really think they did a good job in terms of design with the set. I think the photos are great, even though I said it's not the best argument to buy, but for that set in specific, I thought was a bit different than normal. For Merlin, because of the heritage of the set, the lore also being available in Europe, the connection with pre-modern.
The checklist is also unique.
The checklist is, I guess you can also make an argument for Stadium, but yeah, I like those. I still think they are much speculative than Prism and Chrome or if you 100%. Go to high-end. I mean, I think that narrative can maybe not play out in your favor, or may can. You know, that's what I'm saying. If you want to speculate a bit, those could be nice sets to take a look. But there is a lot. I mean, I was talking with you. What's going on with Optic? Optic, the first year.
Yeah.
I don't see people talking about. But you can make an argument.
Optic people don't really talk about 2018 Optic as a significant set. I mean, years ago they did, but now nobody talks about 2018 Optic.
But that can change, you know. And by the way, I have 0 Optic cards at this point, but that can change in the future. So will be Optic the next set, will be Merlin, will be Stadium. I mean, you can make great points for all of them. Look, Select the first year, even though I think Select the first year already have some collectors. But to be fair, at one point, the second year Select was the one selling for the most. So even that was a bit
because it was club kits instead of international ones, I think.
Yeah. Do you remember the top sale for the level field gold?
Because there was an Mbappe that was like 75 or 80 grand.
But for Messi, do you remember?
It was like 56 or something.
That was bananas, to be honest.
It sold more recently for like 10 or 15.
Even then, 10k I feel is again. Who knows? I understand it's out of 10. So if a guy have 2 or 3, he have probably 50%.
I would rather have the 2017 Chrome.
I also would rather, but the rarity is a bit different to be honest. But yeah, so I don't know. I basically what I'm trying to say is be careful, put things in perspective, and have fun at the end of the day. So.
Yeah, collect all the United States men's national team guys like I do. That'll be worth nothing in 12 years.
No, for sure. James, thank you so much for spending this time with me. It's always a pleasure. Hope you enjoyed the conversation. And yeah, see you guys next time.